Hello and welcome to the Leckiju Lounge. This is your host Lex, and as my brother would always say, let's talk capella. As I actually just said that opening, my brother is currently on my bed asleep, so he's not talkapelling right now. That's where the line came from. Obviously, I say from my brother always said let's talk capella, and the backstory of it is actually very random. I mean, I think it does come from the movie Pitch Perfect, because I know in the show that Gail and John have together, it's called Let's Talk Acapella, I think, and it's like their podcast about acapella, which is such a cute creative name. But ever since seeing that, I remember my brother always saying like let's talk acapella, and that he just said that anytime we were going to talk. So I don't know, I thought it'd be like fun little personality to bring onto the podcast, because obviously most of my personality comes from my brother and us like interacting. So I thought it'd be fun. I felt like I needed to bring that in, and also explain it. Today we're going to talk about gender and everything gender identity. So buckle up, because this is a topic I'm very passionate about. And I honestly don't speak too much about it, I think, because I know every time I'm going to speak about it, I'm going to get started and going to get heated, probably, because I'm very passionate about it. So who knows, maybe I'm going to sweat. Maybe my pits are going to be dripping sweat while I talk about this. But anyways, I don't know how anyone feels. I feel like everyone feels differently about this. And some people just maybe go with what they feel like they should feel and based on what other people are saying. And that's not me. I mean, some people might agree with me, and that's why I'm here to share my opinion, to see if anybody agrees. But let me just explain myself and see if you agree with me. And also, if you have any discussions or like want to comment, questions, or even just like talk privately, I can talk with you. Or if you disagree with me, that's fine too. I'm down for a debate, honestly, on this topic, because I think it's something that people need to broaden their minds to and also learn more about. Okay. So, my earliest, I guess, encounters with like gender identity were, I mean, when I was raised, obviously, like I was raised as a boy, and like I thought of myself as a boy and everything like that, right? But I do remember really always liking female characters in movies and shows, and it wasn't like, oh, I have a crush on them. I mean, I obviously did. My first crush ever was Selena Gomez as Alex Russo on Wizards of Waverly Place. I loved Alex Russo so much. I mean, she was so cool. She was also like a rebel. She was cute. She was pretty. And like a wizard. Also loved that. So obviously there were characters that I liked because they were pretty, but I remember if I was ever gonna like play, I wanted the girl characters, like the action figures too. I wanted the female characters because I just liked typically what they were given for outfits. I liked, and what they were given for like abilities, powers, personalities. I just liked the female characters, and I wanted to be them. So and that's what I like grew up thinking. I didn't think that I wanted to actually be a girl. I just wanted the things that were typically given to girls, if that makes sense. And then the same thing would happen in real life, not just media, as a child, where I wanted things like makeup, which was typically only given to girls growing up. And also same things like clothes. Like, I guess when I was younger, you know, and most kids when they're younger, when you're in a store, you go in and you see the signs that say like boys, men's, women's, ladies, clothes, and you just stay in your section. And I'm like, now that I've grown up and I've thought about that, I'm like, that's actually so wild. Like, that's so wild that we just all go in a store and like are supposed to conform to where they're telling you to shop. I think that's so weird, truly. And for me now, it's like if I go in a store by myself, I'm just like, I'm going to just shop wherever, because it's like, it's literally a piece of fabric. And we'll come back to that when I talk about fashion. So yeah, growing up, I definitely wanted things that were stereotypically things that girls had. But I didn't really ever want to be a girl. I mean, I remember talking with my brother, and he felt similarly to me, where like we were like, it would be fun to be a girl. And there's a lot of people who wouldn't like that. Like, there's like a lot of girls I've talked to where they're like, oh, I don't think I could live as a guy, like even for a day. And I'm like, why? I mean, I even still feel that way. I don't want to be a girl or a woman, but I think living as a woman for a day would be fun, because why not? That just seems like a fun experience. I'm not going to say it's better or worse, but I just think it would be fun. And so I don't know. I don't see how people wouldn't want to do that. And I remember growing up, especially though, I really wanted to just live as a girl, because I thought that living or being a girl allowed you to have things like wear dresses and, you know, have nails, wear heels, those kind of things. And it's like, that's all funny now. But then also I remember people actually thinking of me, and this was a little bit older, maybe like in the middle somewhere. I had an awkward phase, or I had a couple awkward phases, but I remember people really either actually mistaking me for a girl, or doing it out of like trying to be mean. There were definitely a handful of both, which, like, to the people who didn't really mean any harm and they actually just thought I was a girl, it's like, it is what it is. And I was a little bit offended by it when I was a child, which now when I think about it, I'm like, that's not something to be offended about. But when you're a child, you don't get that. And when you're a child and you feel like a boy and you want to be a boy, it's, for some reason it does hurt, because you're just like, people aren't seeing me how I feel and how I want to be seen. And I'm sure people who are trans feel the same way, but the other way around. And I do remember this story where, this is like a very famous story in my family, where my brother and I were trick-or-treating, and we were both dressed as clowns costumes my dad made for us. And they were just like typical clown costumes. It was like the full jumpsuit bodysuit that's kind of just like gives you no shape. And then we both had big cone hats that like matched it. We both had, I think, red circle cheek like blush, and then a red nose on both of us. And I had like the actual physical nose piece, and my brother just had like a red dot on his. And we went up to this house, and they told him, because he was a little taller than me at the time, my older brother. I'm gesturing at his dead body over there on the bed, but yeah, I remember we were like, trick or treat, and they were like, oh, and to him they said, tell your little sister she looks cute. Also, I was only 2 years younger than him. Like, I could speak. Like, it wasn't, guys, we were not young. We were like, I want to say 8 and 10. I can't remember. Maybe we were older than that, but like, we were somewhere in there, 8 and 10, or 9 and 11, something like that. And then they were like, tell your little sister she looks cute. And I remember just looking at them like so confused, and we walked away, and like everyone thought it was funny. I mean, because like it was funny, and it's funny now, but I just didn't get it. And that actually happened so many times. I think it's because on Halloween my dad always made my costumes and my brother's costumes. He still does, so love that. He's very crafty. And I mean, it's happened a lot of times where I remember one year I wanted to be an angel, and I wanted to do like a shorter toga situation. And I would normally just design it, and we pick fabrics with my dad, and he would make it, bring our vision to life. And this angel costume, I was actually in a wheelchair that year, but like I remember this old man in my neighborhood was like, I like your Wonder Woman costume. Get out of here. Actually, get out of here. Like, it was purple. I remember it was like the white toga, and it had gold, but then it had a purple little like side cape. Purple. Wonder Woman is red and blue. Like, I'm actually so confused. I had arm like cuffs that were gold, but I'm like, it was not Wonder Woman at all. I promise you that. But I don't know. I guess that just messed with me a little bit, and it like did hurt me back then. It's kind of the same thing with like someone calling you gay as an insult. And now, you know, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, okay. And they'd be like, are you gay? And I'd be like, sure. Like, I don't know. And I don't really know what people are looking for in it. Obviously, there's the kids growing up that are like saying it to bully because they think that's such a negative thing. And growing up, you do think it's a negative thing because it's used as like someone calling you a name, which it shouldn't be, but that's probably never going to change because people are still doing that to this day. And even adults are using F slurs. And it's like, now I wouldn't even be offended by that. But as a child, it's like, you grew up thinking this is such a negative thing. Like, I don't want to be that. I'm not that. So why is everyone saying that I am? But yeah, the people who said I was, or like thought I was or didn't actually think I was a girl, but just said it to be like, I don't know, mean. It's like now I obviously wouldn't care. But back then it's like, I'm not trying to be a girl. I'm not dressing like a girl. Like I'm like literally wearing my normal clothes. Like it wasn't anything different. Like now, I don't even dress like that androgynous on the regular. But like if it was up to me, I would, and if I could afford it, I would. But like even for instance, my outfit right now, I'm just wearing shorts, a t-shirt, and like this is my normal like summer or warm weather fit. It's nothing crazy. It's not like spaghetti strap like napkin tops or anything like that. But now if people were to mistake me, which does happen less, I would say, because I am 6'2", and like my shoulders have gotten bigger. There's just a lot of aspects that go into it. Like I don't think that people really mistake me anymore, because back then I was very short as well, and they thought I was just like a girl with a little short haircut moment. But now I think I get mistaken less. But if I was, and like when I have been, I literally don't care. I'm like, okay. And that kind of leads me to talk about how I feel about gender now, and how I think it does not bother me at all for someone to think of me as male or female, because like I'm literally not offended. Like I'm not offended by either of those. Obviously for me, I feel like I am a man, and that I present as a man. But if someone were to think I was something else, I don't really care. And like I've told some of my friends this before, that like when someone sees me, I don't care what they think I am as far as gender. Like I just want them to think that I'm pretty, or that I'm like serving, basically. Like I just want them to be like, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful, but they didn't actually think about whether they're a man or a woman, because that's one of like the first things, or like when you're looking at someone or see someone for the first time, I think one of the first things that you notice, whether you want to or not, is that they're male or female. You know what I mean? Like it's just, and then there's always some people where you're like, this is meant to be shady, but when you see people and you're like, well, I don't really know. And some people take offense to that just by not knowing. I'm like, it's none of your business. For me, if I see someone and I'm like, I don't know, let's leave it at that. I don't know. Moving on. Like, it's not for me to know, is basically what I'm saying. So I'm like, for myself, I'm sure there's been many times where I've been in public and people have thought, like, what is that? And I don't really care. I mean, especially because I just, like, I want to look good. I mean, sometimes I surely look a mess. But I'm like, as long as if they think I look good, then we're chill. If they think I look bad, that's also fine. But, so I also believe that masculine and feminine are very broad, much more broad categories than people allow. And this is kind of the hot take. I also really need to stop and give credit to one of my best friends. Her name's Faith. So Faith, if you watch this, and you better, thank you she kind of gave me the idea to make this video. She said that I could do a segment, but then I realized, like, because she was like, you have a kind of an interesting take that I haven't heard on like gender and masculine and feminine. She was like, you could do a segment on this. But I decided, I was like, I'm actually going to do a whole video on this, because there's so much to talk about, as you know, so much to get into. So, but this is like the main point, is that masculine and feminine are not as narrow as people are making them. And this is just how I feel, because a lot of people like to say, like, oh, men need to embrace their masculine and their feminine side. And for me, I understand what they're saying. Okay, I understand what they're saying, but I personally, like, don't get the whole feminine side thing. And like, even when I've asked people what kind of, like, guy do they think I am, or like if we're talking about gender identity, a lot of people say that I am feminine to them, or like I present as a feminine guy, which I don't get. And that does make me a little angry. It doesn't make me angry that someone would think of me as feminine, but in a way, to me, I've never saw myself as that. Therefore, I'm like, no, it's not. So basically what I'm saying is like, oh, because I am very clean cut, you know what I mean? Like I'm very groomed well, and I like say that I was to wear something that was a little more out of the girls section or out of the women's section. I'm done in full women's section and I have like a little bit of makeup on, and someone would be like, oh, that's feminine. To me, that's not. To me, because I'm a man and I am presenting as a man, always have been a man, to me, that is still masculine. Because to me, those things are not feminine. Things cannot be feminine to me. Like, that's really the best way to explain it, I think, because it's like saying that a guy who wears makeup, that makes him feminine, that makes no sense. Or because he wears something, or even presents himself in any different way, or his personality is not the stereotype of what a man should act like, that he's suddenly feminine. Like, why not just call him unique? Why not just call him, he's a unique man, because he's not like the stereotype. Which, don't even get me started on stereotypes. I can't, like, literally don't get me started, because that's really what sets this whole thing off, and that's really what makes this an issue to everyone, and especially to me. Like, this is what makes it an issue, because people have stereotyped objects and personality traits as masculine or feminine. So if anyone has those, it makes them fall into different categories. But in my mind, since I was born a man and I want to be a man, love being a man, then to me, anything that I do is masculine. And I think a lot of people need to hear that, which they're probably not going to agree with me, and that's fine. But I do believe that, what I was saying. And I don't think, like, when people say, like, I'm a girl, but I'm more like a mask, or I'm like a mask girl, that term is so confusing to me. Or when people, like, some of my friends say they're into mask girls, I'm like, what do you mean? And then when they start to describe them, I'm like, it actually irritates me when they start to describe them, because they're like, oh, they just like they wear like boy clothes, like ill-fitted things, and like they don't really like wearing makeup, and they don't really like doing their nails or wearing jewelry. I'm just like, so they're a girl. At the end of the day, they're a girl, and those things are feminine because they are a girl. That's how I think of it. And I don't know, people aren't gonna, I don't think a lot of people are gonna be able to grasp that, because some people are such in a loop of the way that they've been thinking. So, and like, because of these stereotypes that were built years and years ago about certain things being masculine or feminine, they, like, it's hard for them to break that. And obviously I can't make the whole world agree with me, but I'm like, if everyone could see this, I feel like it would become a thing. It's like when people say, oh, like, I like feminine guys, I do have a picture in my head of what that looks like. So obviously the stereotypes have been built in my brain as well. I just don't agree with them. But I know if someone were to say like that I'm a feminine guy to them, I know where they're coming from, and then I normally agree with them, and I will tell them, I'll be like, well, I don't really agree with you on that, because in my opinion, and I normally do my whole spiel, but in like 2 sentences, because I don't want to get into it. It's so much. But I'm like, in my opinion, I'm not, because anything that I would do would be masculine. but I see what you mean. Because I do know what they mean. I'm not going to play dumb and pretend like I don't know what these stereotypes are and what they've been for so many years, but I just don't agree with them. It's kind of the same thing when people use the word twink. I'm like, I do have an image in my head, but I don't necessarily identify with that. Obviously that's not the same. That's not the same thing. So I have gotten a little bit hot already. I will say I'm low-key sweating, but I'm gonna cool off and take a short break. I'll be right back. So another thing I wanted to say was about pronouns, because I think that that's very big, and I actually saw this story about someone getting offended because they introduced themselves to someone and the person like was like, "Oh, nice to meet you," and then they were like, "Pronouns?" with a question mark. And and they were saying like maybe the people have gotten too comfortable with the idea of pronouns. And I was saying in that situation, if someone told you what their name was, just use their name. If you don't know, it's really none of your business. Just use their name if they gave it to you. And I feel that way in almost every situation. I'm like, just call them by their name, maybe. I don't personally like care about pronouns too much with myself because I feel like obviously I think of myself as he, him, his, and I would prefer someone say that, but it's like at the end of the day, does it really matter? Does it really matter? Plus, also, I'm always telling people like, "Oh, hey girl, what's up?" Like, or I'm like, "Hey girl, how are you?" Or like, "Hi queen, hi diva." It's like those are those are all gender neutral. I will call you queen, diva, or girl if you're a guy or a girl, whatever, as long as you speak the language. But a bigger topic, let's get into fashion, because I kind of touched on it earlier, but I've had a lot of rough experiences as far as like wearing things that I wanted to, just because it's not traditionally welcomed or loved in my family. But I will say like there's been instances where I'll get something and it's just like, sometimes I'm like, do I really want to go through questioning? Do I really want to go through a full-on interview about why I bought this or why I wore this? And I'm like, sometimes I just don't, because I don't live on my own, and if I did, I'd probably dress a little bit more out there. But for the time being, I'm like, I would just rather not go through it. So and I'm sure people can relate to that, because sometimes it's just not the right place and time. But for the future, you can always look forward to that. Also, affording your style in the future sounds like a dream. So hopefully I can get to there at some point. And also I want to be a fashion designer. So that's pretty big. And I want to do a lot of gender neutral type fashion design, because I think that needs to be more mainstream. And I think, obviously, in my opinion, you can shop literally any section you want, so it's all gender neutral, but I just feel like you would have to get everyone on board by doing like one size system based on actual inches and or centimeters, actually base sizing off of that, and not have men's and women's sizing. And then, which we shouldn't anyways, it should be based on inches for real. Everyone should just have their measurements in their phone. I mean, I do. But then we should also just like get rid of tags, because I remember this one sweatshirt. This is like a funny story, but these two sweatshirts that I got for my birthday, my brother got me actually, and they were like the same brand, same sweatshirt, but just in two different colors. And they were women's, and I don't remember the size, but I remember it just had a little tag that said like women's in it and had the size. And I remember getting them, and I was like, I was like, I don't really want to deal with, this was at a time where I wasn't doing my own laundry. I was still like younger. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh, this is going to be an issue when someone does my laundry and reads the tag and sees that it says women's. Because it didn't particularly look like a women's fit, but it didn't really look like a men's fit either. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to cut the tags. I remember cutting the tags in the car, which I've done multiple times. I remember cutting the tags in the car because I was like, you know what? We'll see if this changes something. And then I remember being like, whenever my family eventually saw these sweatshirts, and I was like, yeah, this is what Ephraim got me for my birthday. Like, they were cool. And because the tag was cut out, there was nothing ever said, because you couldn't read that it said women's. there was nothing said. Because it was like, and I don't even think I ever said that I found them in men's. I don't think I even ever said. I just said where I got them. And it was just like, that is so, like, small-minded. It's so small-minded, truly. Because just because you can read a tag, it suddenly, like, makes you more or less comfortable with something is weird. Rather than if you just saw it and didn't have anything to, like, perceive there. So as far as my career goes, as a dancer, gender is kind of very black and white. And I will say growing up with dance, like, did let me have an entrance into, like, dressing up, doing makeup, and that was definitely fun because if I hadn't done shows, like, I wouldn't have really been allowed to have makeup. And like, even when my mom was doing it when I was a child, like, it was still fun for me. I felt beautiful. I felt like I liked the way I looked more. I liked being done up. I liked being in costumes. And that was definitely good for me, I think. And like now my favorite, if I ever perform, my favorite thing about it is doing the makeup. I think it's super fun. And dance is just very, ballet specifically is what I've done more of. And ballet is very, you have your male roles, you have your female roles. And, you know, there is one ballet company that's all male dancers and they perform both male and female roles, but that's one ballet company out of how many in the world. And obviously there will be characters from time to time that cross over, or it's like typically performed in drag, like a Mother Ginger in the Nutcracker, sometimes like the Stepsisters in Cinderella, which that's super fun, but those are like comedic roles. It's drag, but it's supposed to be funny. It's not really serious. And so I will say, like, I've come to terms with that anytime I perform ballet, most likely I'm gonna partner a girl, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but at the same time, it's just maybe not for me, and that's what I've noticed. Because any company that I'm potentially going to be a lead with, like, I don't want to really ever be the principal dancer in a company because I don't want to be dancing with a girl. I would personally rather dance by myself as a soloist, and that's why companies, like I've said, are just not really for me, because there's the whole ballet system and the way that it's been made. It's very traditional. And it's good in a way, and it's disciplined in a way, and I do like that it's something that hasn't really evolved way too much, because there's some beauty to that, but I personally just don't really rock with that and don't want to be a part of that in classical ballet. Like, dance is very different as far as when I do choreographies. Like, I will have some partnering in there, but I like to make girls partner each other and guys partner each other, just because it's different and it's something that you haven't seen, and there's so many cool things you can do with playing with other genders in choreography than people had allowed for so many years and years back. I've taken so many dance history classes, it's wild, but we won't get into that because it would bore you, I'm sure. It bored the hell out of me, and I did it for 3 years, but 2 different teachers, 2 different places. I wanted to talk about K-pop because of how they deal with gender and with, you know, stereotypes and stuff like that, because I think a reason I'm really drawn to K-pop is because it's obviously beautiful men, they're talented, they sing and they dance, and it's very high performance, which is something that obviously so many people say, like, that K-pop idols are feminine guys, which I don't agree with. I'm like, they're very masculine guys, but we just got into how I feel about that. But people think because they dance, they sing, they wear costumes and makeup, which again, those things are not feminine, but we're leaving that in the beginning of this video. I'm not going to re-explain. So a lot of people think of them as feminine, which I don't, obviously, because I wouldn't say that, like, I was attracted to feminine things. Like, I was attracted to masculine things, which I consider them all masculine men. Of course, if they want to be. But yeah, I think it's cool that they are able to make it normal, at least in Korea, like, for them to be dancing, singing, and wearing makeup, and a lot of their concepts are also like, will show skinship. It'll show like hand holding within the group, and like show love within the group, and I really love that. I think that's why I'm super drawn to it, because also skinship's very common in Korea between like same genders, whereas like if two guys in a high school were to do that in America, like some of the things they do as far as like holding hands, hugging every day, sharing earbuds, and like sitting next to each other with like an arm around, like that's just seen as gay. So I think it's really nice, and that's how it should be. I mean, people should legit be able to be friends with any gender and be comfortable with every gender. But I understand like people are creepy, so that can't happen. Like stereotypes are present, so that can't happen. It's like how people don't trust their girlfriends to have guy friends, and I'm like, you realize there are good people out there. There are good guys out there. They might be rare, but there are good guys out there, I promise. And I also love, obviously, like people who ship the members. It can be taken to a very crazy, insane level. But like I do believe that it's fun. Like it can be fun to ship the members, and like a lot of people say don't ship your idols, but then it's like, but the idols are shipping themselves low-key. Like a lot of idols are low-key, like they know that the fans like it, and some of it's definitely fan service and some of it may not be, and you know, that's their business whether it is or whether it isn't. But I think it really would be beautiful for more idols to be able to have relationships within their group and without the group, and like not have such a bad like negative influence if it were to be like LGBTQ. I obviously I wish I could change that, but I don't think I have the power to change that, and so many people who would agree with me on that. I still don't think we have the power to change a whole belief system of a country and many other countries. I'm like, if it's this bad in America and we're supposedly a free country, I just wish that they would be okay with them expressing more love. That actually takes me to BL culture, because obviously like BL actors, which stands for boy love if you're not part of the family that knows what just the words BL or the letters BL mean. But the culture is very shit based as well, because a lot of the times when shows come out that are BL series or movies, a lot of times those two actors often do press together, and like they're real people, but it becomes a ship. Like it's honestly very weird when it comes to like Thai BLs or Japanese BLs, Korean, like whatever. You know, whenever, say you were to watch a movie, an American movie, that's a drama. Why can I not think of one right now? But like, think about the two lead actors. You don't see them do press together and like kiss for cameras or make out for cameras or like revisit a love scene from the movie or from the show. That's just not a thing. But in like BL culture, that's pretty common, I think. And it is fan service. I mean, to a degree, obviously we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But, because some of them could have real relationships and they're just showing that. But then I think a lot of times it is very performative, where I've seen reels, TikToks, videos of two actors, like one sitting down, one like straddles them. They do basically a whole scene. The crowd's going wild, as would I. But it's just weird that they ship them almost in real life and they are real people, because that's like not as common. Obviously, people have shipped American actors and singers and whatnot who have had interactions, but it's not to the same degree, and it's not as normal, I guess, because we see them as real people, whereas they see them more as their characters, like that becomes them. Alright, so I'm going to get into the segment that we introduced last week, which is called Leckiju's Cues. This is where I answer some questions of yours, and I'm probably going to post on Instagram as, again, have like a bar that you can submit questions, or if you need advice or anything like that, because I really like to answer questions and, you know, give you guys some help if you need it in any areas. basically talk about anything, so do not be shy. Please reach out or even DM me. That's fine too. So the first question I got was how to get a man, or this is advice rather, how to get a man. And I'm going to be honest, okay? I'm going to try to help you. I would say that when I had a good relationship in my life, it was because I decided to stop looking, which seems maybe not what you naturally want to do. I understand the feeling of wanting to be looking, searching, be on apps for those kind of things. But I would say a lot of people say to work on yourself, but it is kind of true. There's definitely something to that, because I need to listen to this advice that I'm saying right now. Okay, so thank you for submitting, because I need to listen to it as well. Whenever I found something really good and a really good relationship, it was because I told myself going into this new semester that I was starting. At the time, I remember thinking, I'm gonna try not to think about it as much. I mean, I had celebrity crushes. I was like, that's enough for me right now. I'm just gonna think about myself. I was in a more negative space, which is not good, but I remember thinking oh, I'm going into this new semester. I'm not really going to think about friends, not really going to think about anything like that, which then I naturally made friends, obviously. And I also remember thinking I'm not going to think about relationships because I'm probably not going to like anyone. I just want to think about me. But then a few months went by of me being there. I think it was 4 months. And then I already had connected with someone very naturally, and we just talked and got to know each other and really healed each other at the time. So my advice to you is to definitely not look so hard, at least, because it's best when it happens naturally, I think, and you want it to be organic, and it's like the universe is going to bring you to them. So it's kind of sucks to hear, be patient, but that's definitely what seems to work for me, at least. Everyone's going to be different, but you're not going to be as satisfied if you just try to seek and just take what says yes, or take what or even if it's the other way around, who someone keeps bothering you. Don't just give in. Don't just say yes because you feel like you're lonely or you're bored. It has to really happen organically, and you kind of have to wait for that and be patient for that, because I believe that the universe will bring you together, or God will have that in store for you. So you just have to wait. My next question is, how do you even choreograph like that? I don't get it. Oh, it says, how do you even choreograph? I don't get it. So how I choreograph is, I would say I'm very, I definitely need to choreograph in my life, even if it's just for myself or for a little TikTok or something like that. It's just something that I naturally do. And it's not for everyone, for sure. There's people who are dancers who don't want to choreograph and don't want to teach. And then there's people who don't want to dance. They'd rather choreograph and teach, which I think that is me. I like choreographing for myself, and teaching is not the same as choreographing, but it's very similar, because when you're teaching, you have to give different combinations, and it's mini choreos basically. For dance, it's even though it's a small combination, it's just a little dance. So you do have to choreograph, and you have to have the choreographic brain a little bit to be able to teach, but then you also need to be able to help students achieve that. Why am I burping? And then I would say, how do I do it? This is really honestly hard to answer, but I am actually choreographing this week when I'm filming this, so I'll think about it. Maybe I'll think about it some more. I just think I like to create art, and I like to create dance just because I've grown up around it. And growing up dancing is it exposes you to a lot of different styles and different people's teachings and different choreographers, and it makes you learn what you really love and what you really don't love about dance. And that's, I think, how you discover your style, is what you really like and what you really don't like, and making it very you. At least for me, my style is very, at least so far what I've done in my life is pretty neoclassical. So it has a lot of ballet steps, it has a lot of classical steps, and then it also has some contemporary emotions and some contemporary aspects to it, and then also some pop. So I like really fun music. I like a lot of beats. Like, I like drums, I like bass, I like electronic beats, and I think that's fun for me because I like classical music, but a lot of times it would bore me, or it just felt common to do like ballet steps to classical music, like pianos or violins. No shade to people who choreograph to that, but I just personally really like choreographing and doing ballet steps to not traditional ballet music. And then also throwing in some hips there, because to me that made it more fun and more like sassy, gives it a little bit of edge, and I think that's really fun. Another style I really love choreographing that I've done a couple times is like ballet but Latin. So it involves a little bit of ballroom, which obviously involves like hips and non-traditional ballet arms, but then with some like ballet choreography with some point work. That's another thing, I really like point work because it can be so cool, especially like contemporary point. If you get it, you get it. And if you don't, I'm probably gonna post my choreography pretty soon on YouTube. I'll probably be able to post that with like a month from now, honestly. I think I want to post it to YouTube. I'm gonna try at least to get a good video of it, and you guys will be able to see it for free, so stick around. Hopefully this topic was not too heavy, but if you liked what I said, please comment like your opinion on gender and things like that, like how you identify and how you think of masculine and feminine, because I'm genuinely very curious. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Leckiju Lounge. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. You can also turn on the notification, so click the bell and then you'll get notified every time I post a video, which is every Thursday at what time? 6 p.m. Eastern. So I'm also going to link all of my socials so you can follow me everywhere else. In my opinion, I'm a fun time, but you'll have to see for yourself, so go check them out. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye, love you.